to our weekly feature that I have on the blog of Simply Sean, which is the things we learned from the weekend of rugby. And so this week will be the things we learned from the Springboks versus New Zealand. Basically, every week I look at 5 talking points and lessons that we can look at from the big matches that have taken place and try to put a little spin on it. Try to make a point. This is beyond the score. This is beyond who the man of the match was. This is the report that you look at after you've watched the game and after you've read the news, just when you want a little bit more insight. You can feel free to catch it every week on www.simplyshawn.co.za. The first lesson that we learned from that epic test is that the 2013 All Blacks and the 2013 Springboks can put on a hell of a show. Now, we should have had a level playing field host these two teams last month, but unfortunately, your Master Poit ruined it somewhat. And now we managed to see these two teams go at it, and just what a game it was. Forget for a moment of the imperfections of the Springbok performance that we lost, and that was a bit disappointing. That was just one thrilling, pulsating game. It was end-to-end. There were wonderful skills. It was flowing attack. It was an odd, huge hit. It was everything that makes us enjoy watching rugby, quite frankly. I think my opinion. I can't remember a Springboks All Blacks game in the last, maybe 10 years that has been as good as that. Maybe 9 years. Maybe Maurice Bay's hat-trick. That was in 2004. But that's the kind of level we're competing in. These guys play each other every year. I don't think they put on a show like that consistently when they play each other. And don't forget that this is part of it as well, is that rugby is entertainment to an extent. This is why millions watch it around the world. It's not, we treat the results like life or death, and yes, we must be disappointed with what we lost, but there's a reason that millions around the world outside of South Africa and New Zealand watch this fixture. It's because it might be a great show, and it was just a great advert for rugby. By hook or by crook this season, that has to be seen as the featured event for SANZAAR, is the rugby championship match between South Africa and New Zealand, especially when it's, for all intents and purposes, a final with the trophy on the line. And it was just a great event and a great selling point for rugby and a great selling point for the two teams this year and how they can move forward. And she said, how well was the game refereed? How popular is Nigel Owens, the referee? He must be the most popular referee that has officiated a Springbok losing cause. It's just been gushing with compliments all week. It makes him look good, makes us look good. He's bossed about what a pleasure it was to referee. No, Nigel, the pleasure is all ours. Please come anytime you want. He was just so communicated so well with the players. He seemed consistent. He used the TMO sensibly and communicated with the TMO sensibly. It was just a pleasure to see. So before you get too upset about it as well, that we lost, bear in mind that it's bad luck to win the Tri-Nations or the Rugby Championship 2 years before the World Cup. We won the Tri-Nations in 2009 and lost the World Cup in 2011. We narrowly lost the Tri-Nations in 2005 and ended up winning the World Cup in 2007. In fact, if you look at the record, no team has won this tournament, be it the Tri-Nations or the Rugby Championship, 2 years before the World Cup and won. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that it's some weird voodoo jinx. I'm just saying a lot can happen in 2 years. So, moving on to lesson number 2. Let's face it, the defense needs work. Now, I told you to momentarily forget about the Springbok imperfections. Well, the moment's over, and let's just look at it a little bit. Some of the tackling, well, not just the tackling, some of the defense on the weekend was just not up to scratch. I know that the All Blacks expose more than most teams do. They have good runners, they use space well, they have support players excellent, and it always tests your defense all the time. But if we're in the business of beating the All Blacks, we have to defend better. And what else are we going to be aiming for in rugby if it's not to beat the All Blacks, which should be the ultimate, and we should be challenging for being the best in the world. My problem was it wasn't just the tackling that was awful. It wasn't just a guy getting in position and slipping off the tackle. We had problems with some guys shooting up off the line, and it makes the defensive line jagged when you miss the man. There were problems with cover defense coming across in time, and also there was just poor exit rugby, i.e. when the ball's in your 22, how you get it out effectively. Do you get the line out? Do you get the box kick, etc.? There were a couple of mistakes made in key moments where we gave the All Blacks chances. And I think we might need to just tweak the system a little bit. I'm sure Heineke will. I mean, he's improved every single other aspect of the Springbok performance, I reckon, in the year that's gone. Don't forget, people, we've moved a long way in a year. Think about this fixture last year and how much the All Blacks outclassed us in the FNB Stadium when they won 32-16, if memory serves. And we were outplayed in pretty much every department and didn't thrill so much on attack. There's a lot to do, and I'm sure Heineke Meyer will just tweak it, and I think just a bit of tweaking in the system is is needed, and possibly some hard selection calls on some guys that aren't really pulling their defensive weight. They must either improve, or we must make a plan with guys that can. If that sounds like a simple and harsh solution, well, that's because it is. Lesson number 3, not only can the Springboks score tries, but they don't just have to be pushover tries either. Wasn't that just such a refreshing sight to see that the Springboks scoring such flowing attacking tries using the backline so beautifully? The chip and chase from Habana was amazing after Flo's offload through the tackle. I mean, if Sonny Bill did that offload through the tackle, it would have had 1 million hits on YouTube by now. Similar for the way Dwayne Vermeulen broke the line and gave it to Habana for his first try. And not to mention the kind of thrilling effort by Jean de Villiers at the end, and even the little jinking effort by Willie Leroux. I don't know how Willie Leroux scores those tries when he's got so little space, but he ends up doing it. But anyway, for me, that is a sign that I think it was Jake White that said when he was Springbok coach that when you play the All Blacks, you have to make a plan to score 25 points or more, because you know that they are going to score at least that. And you can't just do that with penalties and drop kicks. You're going to have to make a plan to score tries. And we used to think if we keep it tight, we can maybe get the odd pushover try and just concentrate on possibly suffocating the All Blacks, not get ourselves into trouble, we could be okay to win. Now we've shown that we can actually compete with them on an attacking playing field. We might not be better than them, but we can certainly compete. We've got players that can make space, and we've got players that can use the space well. So we mustn't just think that we must come and bully these sides and use these stereotype South African, somewhat monolithic, simplistic game plans where we sometimes have fallen short against New Zealand in the past. We can play an expansive game and challenge them. Maybe not, maybe even away. This doesn't just have to happen when we host New Zealand as well. Lesson number 4, I'm going to rush through these last 2 lessons for you, is that pre-arranged substitutions need room for tweaking. Now, we all saw on the weekend where Bismarck du Plessis went off. We saw how pissed off he was as well. I mean, of course, Bismarck was pissed off when he's about to get substituted. I mean, he's playing against the All Blacks, wouldn't you be? So let's ignore him for a second. You have a situation where it's on 50 minutes. Heineke's decided, and the whole coaching staff has decided, I'm sure, that on 50 minutes with half an hour left, we're going to do some substitutions in the front row. It doesn't take into account that there might be a 5-meter scrum when we're trying to put New Zealand under pressure. And then on they come. You can see Bismarck looking irritated that he's being taken off. You can see the management looking hesitant about bringing him on, about bringing Adrian Strauss on. Even Adrian Strauss was looking sheepish that he had to come on and replace Bismarck du Plessis. But off he went. And not only that, we also took off his brother as well, Yanni du Plessis, so that we could bring on a tight head who's actually a loose head, who is still grooming the fact to be a tight head. Now, while we're all for bringing on fresh legs, you can't expect everyone to play the full match, no matter how well they're playing, especially a game as exhausting as that on the high field. But we have to make a plan to make some off-the-cuff alterations to decisions like these. We can't just have a situation where we've predetermined and pre-arranged the substitution to happen, and then we just go through with it, even though the match situation screams for a change to be just halted for a little bit. So I think Heineken needs to tweak that little system that he has. If it means bringing back the walkie-talkie to do so, go for it. Go for it. We don't mind at all. Last and the final point, I'm glad to see that the IRB haven't followed the FIFA route when it comes to official team sheets. There was an incident on Saturday where Dane Coles came on the field as a reserve hooker, even though Kevin Mialamu was put on as a reserve hooker, and everyone was a little bit up in the air because, well, not everyone. The IRB officials were a bit up in the air because that wasn't the name on the official team sheet. We spoke about it with the referee. He was happy to let it slide. Jean de Villiers was happy to let it slide. And I would like the official IRB statement on the issue to be, I cannot begin to describe how much we don't care. Because we shouldn't care. Who cares if one All Black hooker that was eligible to play the match played the game instead of another All Black hooker that was eligible to play the match? Why the hell should we care? We really shouldn't care. I'll tell you what, FIFA would care. FIFA would go absolutely crazy if you did that. The team sheet was a document that is held sacrosanct by FIFA. And they would see that as a disgrace if you put someone on the field that wasn't a team sheet. And coming from, a tax-free laundering parasite that'll bypass democracy to do whatever it can to make people drink more Budweiser, them seeing you as a disgrace means a hell of a lot. That's it for the lessons that we learned in the day.